Okay, so in the previous section, we solved applications with one unknown. Now what we're going to do is solve it with two unknowns. Let's just break it down one step at a time, shall we? Okay. My sister is 4 years older than I am. So let's look at this. So we've got sister, let's call her S. Sister S. Okay? And she is equal sign 4 years older. So 4 years older, that would be what? 4 plus. Everybody agree? 4 plus than me, or than I am. She's 4 years older than I am. Do I know how old I am? I do, but in the context of this, not necessarily. So who is I? Maybe we can just label it X. You guys with me so far? Okay. Now, there's your first one. Now, let's look at this. The sum of our ages. So, our represents who? Sister and me, right? Our ages. So, S plus X is, we know what that means. That's going to be equals 28. And that, of course, is obvious. Here it is. You guys with me so far? Okay. Now, what we need to do here is we need to find what S, X are. Sister, who knows, another sister, a brother, whatever. And so the question now is, how do we solve a problem like this? Well, what you can do is you can substitute one equation into the other. So step one, form the equations from the information that they give you. Now step number two is to substitute one of the equations into the other. So you're going to substitute one equation into the other. What do I mean by that? What I mean is that you should look at one of them and see if one can easily be placed into the other. How do you identify easily placed? Easily placed is when one of the variables is on one side and everything else is on the other. Why do I say that? Because this first equation says that S is 4 plus X. In other words, I could take 4 plus X right here and put it in for S, couldn't I? S is equivalent to 4 plus X. So I could take an S in the other equation and plug in 4 plus X. You guys follow me? So how do you identify it? You identify it by looking for an equation where it's S equals something, where the variable is already isolated. This is the one that we can take because the variable is isolated for you, and we can take that and put it into the other. You guys follow me? Questions about that? All right. So I'm going to come over here and do that. So what do? I put 4 plus X in for S. Plus X equals 28. Look at what happened there. My original equation was S plus X equals 28. What did I do? Well, I knew that S is equivalent to 4 plus X. S is equivalent to 4 plus X, isn't it, from this one? And so I took the 4 plus X from here and put it into that other equation. Did I drive that point home hard enough there? Okay. So now we're ready to go solve it. If I open up my parentheses, I get a 4 plus X plus another x equals 28. If I combine these two, that's going to be 4 plus 2x equals 28. And you can see that I'm going to use all my skills from previous sections to solve this. Subtract 4 from both sides. 2x equals 24. Divide by 2. And x equals 12. And that is the age of sibling 1, right? Now that's not all of it, right? That's me. I'm 12 years old. But we also need to figure out sister's age, right? My sister's age, your sister's age, whatever. So that's the final step. Is step number 3 is to do, you're going to back solve for the other variable. So we found one of the variables in step 2. Now we back solve for the other variable. How can I find the other variable? Well, I know that sister is 4 plus my age. So I know sister is 4 more than my age. I know my age is 12. So that means sister must be 16. Make sense? Any questions about that at all? Go make sure you get your number 1 correct. Please let me know if you have questions. If you want me to do yours, I'm happy to do your problem. You just let me know. I'm happy to do it. You got your question right? Are we okay? Let me know. Anybody need me to do theirs? Can I move forward? I'm going to roll on forward. Okay, let's look at this next one. We're going to use this general framework to solve the next problem. Not every problem is going to be identical, but in general, they're going to follow the same general format and general steps. So let's take a look here. Last year, Lean earned $800 more than her husband. Let's translate that. Okay, so I'm going to just kind of work up here, then I'll put them over there. Lean earned. That means Lean had a salary, right, everybody? So Lean had a salary. Her salary was $800 more than whatever husband H. You guys with me so far? So Lean earned $800 more than her husband. All of that is wrapped up in that equation. Now, let's look at the other half. Together. This word together is very critical because that word alone means Lean plus husband. Together, L and H, she and her husband, earned equals $51,800. All of this sentence is wrapped up in that. Any questions about that? Makes sense? Okay. So, step number 1, which I said earlier, is to do what? Oh, I need to write this a little lower. Step number 1 is to create your equations. L equals 800 plus H. There was my first one. And L plus H equals 51,800. There's the end of step 1, just like over here. Now, let's move on to step 2, shall we? In step number 2, if we return to the previous problem, we are going to substitute one equation into the other. And the way we look for that is by selecting the equation whose variable is isolated. Which one is that for mine? It's this one. This is the one where the variable is isolated. The L is by itself. The variable is isolated. What are you going to do with that one? You're going to put that one into the other one. So I know that my other equation is L plus H equals 51,800. And I'm going to take what the equation was where the variable was isolated that I just identified, and I'm going to put that in and substitute it for whatever it's for. L is equivalent to 800 plus H. So L is equivalent to 800 plus H. Look at my substitution. There it is. Just like I did over here in the previous problem. And so now I'm ready to go solve for one of the variables. You see how they're very similar? Very similar problems. Okay, let's go ahead and open things up. This should not be so bad. 800 plus H plus another H equals 51,800. Combine like terms like we're used to. So 800 plus 2H equals 51,800. Now I need to subtract 800 from both sides. I'm doing this quickly because we've practiced this, and that leaves me with just 51,000 when 800 is taken from 51,800. Then divide both sides by 2. And so the husband's salary is going to be what? $25,500. Okay, that's important. 25,500, yes. Is that all of the answer? Well, it looks like it so far, right? They just want to know how much did the husband earn, but I bet it's a two-part problem because they say how much did each of them earn. And then, of course, yes, they're going to ask for her salary. So you're not done yet when you get to here. You got one more step to go, and that's step 3, where you need to back solve, back substitute for the other variable. In this case, finding out what Lean's salary is. Well, easy way to know how to back solve, whichever equation is the one with the variable isolated is usually going to be the one that you use to plug this value into. So you're going to flip-flop and go to the other one. So I'll know what Lean's salary is by taking 800 and adding it to the husband's salary, which we just determined. So Lean's salary is 800 plus 25,500. So Lean's salary is 26,300. And there it is. I'm not going to type it in. You guys get the idea. Okay? And look, pretty much 2 identical problems with respect to procedure. Number 1, translate, set up your 2 equations. Number 2, determine which of the equations has a variable that's all by itself on one side. Then substitute that variable into the other equation. Solve it using our methods, and then back solve it for the other variable. Okay? Any questions about that at all? Hopefully you got yours right. Let me know if you need any assistance. I'm happy to help you. Any questions at all? Anything I can assist you with? Let me know. Can I move forward? Yes. Yeah. Okay. All right. I'm going. Stop me if I need to slow down. All right. Let's take a look here. So, erase this. While shopping, Jill spent 4 times as much as Amy. Okay. So maybe what I'm going to do here is I'm going to zoom out just a bit to give me a little bit more room. Okay. See if I can squeeze. Oh, I don't think I'm going to be able to. I'll erase this one. Let's see if I make it work in this smaller zone here. All right, so while shopping, Jill spent 4 times as much as Amy. Let's translate this one. Jill's spending is, that's all that says right there. In other words, Jill's spending is the following. Jill equals 4 times as much as Amy. There it is. Done. All of this is wrapped up in that equation. You guys with me so far? Questions about that? Okay, let's go to the next one. If they spent, well, this is actually very important. It says a lot. If they spent, that means that that's saying Jill's spending combined with or plus Amy's spending totals equals 215. That wraps up that one. And now we have 2 equations that we're ready to go work with. Any questions about what I just did? So the second one, if they spent, another way to think about it is together they spent, right? Combined they spent. Adding their spending together equals whatever way you want to look at it. All right, so here we go. So step number 1 was, I shouldn't chance it being that high, is to write down the equations. I'm just going to write it as J equals 4A and J plus A equals 215. There are my 2 equations, and I've just completed step 1 like I would have over here. We good? Okay. Next, put a star on the equation that has one of the variables isolated. Which one of mine has the variables isolated? It's this one. This is the equation where the variable is isolated. Why is that one important? Because whatever that is going to go into the other one. So now let's go to step 2. The other equation is the one that you start with. And what we're going to do is we're going to take the equation where the variable is isolated and stick it into the other one. Follow? J is 4A. J is 4A. You guys see that? Just like we did over here. This is the one where the variable is isolated. L is 800 plus H. So 800 plus H goes in for the L. J is 4A, so 4A is going to go in for the J in the other equation. Okay? It's a little bit tricky. It can be tricky for students. I don't blame you if it's a little bit tough. With me so far? Okay? And now, this is actually not so bad. 4A plus A compared to what we did before. 215, what's that going to be when we divide both sides by 5? A is going to be what, 43? Yeah, 43. What's 43 represent? How much Amy spent? $43. And this is probably a 2-part problem because they say, how much did each person spend? I'm not going to go type it in. I'm pretty sure that the answer is right. So now I need to go the other part of it, right? I need to back solve and find what Jill spent. Well, Jill spent 4 times whatever Amy spent, and because Amy spent $43, which I'm going to substitute into there, right? Take a look at that. I take whatever I got and put it into that equation. Then I know that Jill spent what, 160, 172? Something like that. Okay. 160, yep, 172. Okay. Go solve yours. Let me know if you have questions. Something not working out for you. help you with. I hope you're getting yours correct. All right, please let me know. Questions at all? Good? Can I move forward? Okay, stop me if I'm going too fast. Okay, number 4. Okay, let's see. All right, an electrician cuts a 20-foot piece of wire into 2 pieces. That says a lot, actually. So take a look here. So we have a 20-foot piece of wire, and it's going to get cut into piece number 1 and piece number 2. Now this is a little bit tricky to see, so I'm going to help you with that. You guys follow me? I don't know how long each of the pieces are, do I? I just know that the electrician cut that 20-foot piece of wire into 2 pieces. And so one piece is going to be one length and one piece is going to be another length. They're not necessarily equal, which is why I have to use 2 different variables. 2 different variables indicates that they might have different lengths. They're not identical. Follow me? Okay, let's look at the other part. One piece. Which one do you want to pick? Does it matter? No. Let's just say X. You could say Y. It doesn't make a difference. One of the pieces is 16 feet longer. In other words, it's 16 more than, right? 16 more than the other. Well, if we said one piece is X, then the other's got to be Y. And that covers the 2 equations. Make sense? Let's go write it down. Step 1, again, consistently write down the 2 equations. 20 equals X plus Y. And my other equation, X equals 16 plus Y. You guys with me so far? Any questions about your problem in relation to mine? Anything that's not making sense? Something that can be done better? Something I can help you with? Now, what's the next part? Put a star on the equation that has the variable isolated. Which one looks like this, where the variable is on one side and everything else is on the other? Which one is it? It's this one. This is the one this time where the variable is isolated. Isn't it? Because X is on one side and everything else is on the other. And now we're ready to go to step 2, aren't we? So here's step 2. Whichever equation had the variable isolated, you're going to take the other one. So I'm taking this one. 20 equals X plus Y. Now, what are we going to do with this one? Now we're going to take our variable isolated variable. X equals 16 plus Y. So 16 plus Y is going to go in for X in this one. So X is 16 plus Y. And I'll just bring everything else down. 20 equals, and then the plus Y. Look how consistently we do that over and over and over again in our problems. Nothing different, same stuff. Okay? Any questions about that at all? We okay? All right, let's go open things up, solve it, and move on to the next problem. 20 equals 16 plus y, combine like terms. So that's going to be 20 equals 16 plus 2y's. Then I'm going to subtract 16 from both sides. 4 equals 2y. Divide both sides by 2. And 2 equals y. So one of the pieces is 2 feet long. That's not the cleanest way of writing feet. I done? No, I'm not done. Because I also need to find the length of the other piece, right? The other piece, I need to figure that out. So if I know one piece is 2 feet, I need to go all the way back to the beginning to figure out the length of the other. Well, y is 2 feet. Well, x is 16 plus whatever y is, isn't it? The other piece is x. The other piece is 16 more than the y piece. Well, we know that 16 plus y, or we know that y is 2, so 16 plus 2 is 18 feet. And there's the length of the second piece. Together, check your work. Sure enough, they make 20. Make sense? Any questions about that at all? Let me know. Questions? Anything? That's good. Hopefully you're starting to get the hang of it after seeing 4 of my problems and maybe 2 to 4 of your own. A lot of practice. Let me know if you've got questions. Anybody? Anybody want me to do theirs? I'm going to roll on forward unless you say something to me. Okay, I'm going to keep on going. All right, let's take a look at this next one. All right, in some countries, Congress, the number of representatives is 205 less than 5 times the number of senators. That's a very complicated sentence. So let's go through this and let's translate it. The number of representatives is. That alone says what? Representatives equal. So that first part alone, the number of representatives is just like saying, if we summarize it, wrap it all up, R equals, if you assign a variable to it. Okay. 205 less than. Now let me ask you a question. Is that going to be 205 minus or minus 205? I don't blame you if you pick one or the other, but there is a correct answer. Is it 1 or 2, left or right? What do you think? You don't have to say it out loud. I just want you to think about that. It's the right side. It's that one. So when you see the phrase less than, that number is going to come after whatever they're about to say. Okay? So that means you need to take 205 away from less than whatever they're about to tell you. Okay, so be very careful about that. It's an important distinction. This phrase less than reverses the order. Okay, 5 times the number of senators. Well, that's a pretty easy one. 5S, right? S stands for senators. 5S is 5 times the number of senators. And taking away 205 from that would represent the 205 less than. Got it? Okay. This is a very tricky sentence. There's a lot of stuff going on with it, but hopefully that helps you translate that. The second part looks like it's pretty easy. There are a total of 575 members. That is as easy as it seems. Representatives plus senators is a total. That's really that. Of, in this case, usually the word of stands for multiplication, but in this case it's just an equal, right? So the total number of representatives and senators, R plus S equals 575. And there's our 2 equations. Let's go attack it. Here we go. So I've got R equals 5S minus 205. And then I've got R plus S equals 575. Put a star on the equation where the variable is isolated. That would be this one for me. Right? I'm not going to write it out. You guys know what the star means now. Now what do? We go to step 2 using the other equation. R plus S equals 575. And we're going to put what in? The star piece in for that isolated variable. So R is this. R is 5S minus 205. That's what R is. And I'll just keep on going with that. Make sense? Same thing as, go ahead.
So why couldn't you put the 205 minus 5S?
Let's actually talk about that. Let's give you an example. Let's compare these two, because I think that's a very valid question. Right? That's what you're asking?
Yes.
What's the difference between the two? Well, let's just use a basic example, right? Let's say that S equals 2. There's 2 senators, right? Theoretically, those should equal the same thing, right? If they're equivalent. Let's do that. 5 times, I put in 2 over here, right? That's going to be 10 minus 205. That's going to be a negative 195. If they mean the same thing, then this one's going to be negative 195 as well. Agreed? Right? Let's take a look. You see where this is going? And very different. Complete opposite ends of the spectrum, aren't they? A negative 195 all the way to a positive 195. Language is important. For example, I make $10 an hour less than you. Versus, I make $10 more an hour than you. So, your salary minus 10 is mine. 10 minus your salary. Are those two totally different things? Yeah. If you make $20 an hour, that reverses things completely, doesn't it? The language. It's tricky. Like I said, I don't blame you if you picked one or the other. It's something that we must discuss. All right? What's another phrase? Fewer than. That also will run a reversal. Okay? I think that came up in the other lecture. Okay, so just be aware of that. Very important question. All right, let's keep on rolling. Open things up. 5S minus 205 plus S equals 575. 5S plus S is 6S minus 205 equals 575. I'm going to add 205 to both sides. So I'm moving really fast through here because I assume that you guys are good with this. That's going to be 780. Divide everything by 6. And so S is going to be equal to 130. So what does that represent? 130 is the amount of senators. Senators. Follow? Okay. Are we done? Of course not. We got a third step to finish, which is to find the number of representatives. The number of representatives is simply what? 5S minus 205, or you know that total is 575, don't you? If you know that the total is 575, you could always subtract it from there. And you could have done that with all these other ones too, right? I mean, you can plug this number into either of these equations and solve for the other variable. It doesn't really matter which way you do it. So, however you want to do it, it's completely up to you. You could multiply it by 5 and take away 205, or you could subtract it from 130 to find it out. It doesn't really matter. I'm going to actually do it this way because that one is a little bit easier in this case. So I know that R plus 130 is 575, so R is 575 minus 130, which is going to be, what, 445. Sorry, it's a little bit crammed, but hopefully you get the idea. You guys, and I skipped the step where I showed the subtraction, but I hope you get it. Anybody got questions on how I got the 445? I just used this equation of them. I plugged in the 130 for the senators, and I solved it. And sure enough, 130 plus 445 equals the total 575 of people in Congress for that country. Okay? Any questions about that at all? You guys all right? I hope you got your question correct. If not, let me know. I'll be happy to help you. Okay? You good? Keep on rolling. All right, next. See if I can squeeze this problem into that last section. Okay. A fence is 701 meters long. It is cut into 3 parts. I'm going to actually do this right now first, and then we'll make a quick modification. You ready for me? Take a look. Cut into 3 parts means what? X plus Y plus Z, isn't it? Because we don't know the lengths of all of them. All those 3 parts equal 701 meters. You with me so far? 2 parts are the same length. Does that impact that equation? Yes. It means that we can take that Z and turn it into a X or a Y. I'll call it a Y. You guys follow me? Because 2 of the parts are identical. We know that. That's what they just described, and one of them is not. Any questions about what I just did there? It's a very important little note here because it makes this problem a little tricky if you don't get that. Okay. The third part is 26 meters longer than either of the other 2. The third part, what's the third part? This is 26 meters longer. That means plus. Then either, this is actually an important word here, either of the other 2 means that you just have to call it a Y. They're not saying both of the other parts combined, right? So if they said both of the other parts, it'd be a Y and a Y or 2Y. But since they said either of the other 2, that means all you have to do is pick one of them, which is Y. Okay, this is actually very tricky when it comes to language. So you have to pay very close attention to that. Any questions about what I just did? Okay, let's go write down our information. I'm going to write it a little bit higher so I don't run out of room this time. And let's see here. So here's my equations. X plus 2Y equals 701. Why did I write 2Y? How did I get 2Y? Because I combined these, right? Y plus Y is 2 Y's. So I saved a little time, combined those. And then the other one, X equals 26 plus Y. And there it is. I've got all the information I need to successfully complete this problem. Just like all the others. Follow? Okay. Let's go close this one down. Step number 2, shall we? So I'm going to take, first, which one is isolated? This one, right? Okay. There's the isolated one. Like I always do, I put a star on that so I know that I'm going to take the other one. So x plus 2y equals 701. 26 plus y is going to go in for x. So 26 plus y goes in for x plus 2y equals 701. Everybody with me so far? Okay. And now, let's go solve it. 26 plus y plus 2y equals 701. Combine like terms. 26 plus 3y equals 701. Now I'm going to move really fast through this algebra because frankly, if I gave you enough time, you could solve it yourself. I'm going to subtract 26 from both sides. So 3y is going to be equal to, that should be a 675. Then I'm going to divide everything by 3. And so y is going to be equal to 225. 225, yes. And that's going to be 225 meters, if you want to be accurate about it. Meters, 225 meters. That's why I put a little m there. And then finally, I can go back and solve the other one. So, or for the other piece. So the other piece is x equals 26 plus y. It's 26 meters longer than the y piece. And so that x piece is going to be 26 plus 225. And so that other piece is going to be what? 231.51 meters. There it is. And you're done. Questions about that at all? Good. Can I help you with anything? You guys starting to get the hang of it? It's a lot of examples we've done. Mine, yours that you've done, you successfully completed. It's a lot of examples of the same thing, different context, different general problems. This one's a little bit tricky. Some of them have unique wording, fewer than, less than, blah, blah, blah. But overall, it's the same general concept. Okay. Can I move forward? All right. At this point, what I want to do is I actually want to just help you with the setup. I don't want to solve them anymore, so I'm just going to give you a couple more setups and we're going to call it a day, okay? So I don't want to finish all these problems. I think we've done enough, and the rest of them, you guys can probably close them out yourself. So I want you to just see how it's set up. That's probably the most difficult part, and then you can do the arithmetic on your own. Given the perimeter of a rectangle in either the length or the width, find the unknown measurement using the appropriate formula. The perimeter is 84 inches and the length is 23 inches. Like I said, the setup is the tough part here. Let's first understand what's going on. You've got a rectangle. Everybody agree? It's a rectangle. They're talking about perimeter. If you understand what perimeter is the distance around the object, right? It's the distance around the object. And the distance around the object is comprised of a length, 2 lengths, and 2 widths. Everybody agree? In other words, the perimeter of an object is 2 lengths plus 2 widths. That will tell us the total distance around an object, a rectangle in particular. So they tell us that the perimeter is 84 inches. That means that 84 is equivalent to 2 of the lengths plus 2 of the widths, knowing that the formula of what a perimeter is. And there's your first equation. Make sense? Okay, there's your first equation. So if we're setting this problem up, I'm not going to solve it for you, that's for you to do. The first equation is 84 equals 2 lengths plus 2 widths, or 2L plus 2W. You wouldn't know that if you didn't know this background information, right? So you have to know the background information of what a perimeter is defined by, or as. Now the second part. Length is 23 inches. Well, that's really straightforward. We said length is L. So there it is, 23. Done. Here's the isolated variable, go and back solve it. Follow? I don't want to do it. That's it. That's all I got to say. I don't want to take time for you to go and solve your problem. I've shown you the setup. You can go do that. All right? Make sense? Okay. Let's go on to number 8. Okay. A tabletop is shaped like a rectangle whose perimeter is 286 inches. Okay. Well, this transfers over to our problem here. So if we're setting it up, perimeter is 286, so 286 equals 2L plus 2W. There's our first equation. Follow me? Yes? Good. The length is 10 times as long as the width. All right, this is the part that you got to read and translate that's different from the other one. What did they say? Length is L equals 10 times as long as the width. What does that mean? 10 times the width. And there's your second equation. So length equals 10W. Now you have the pieces to go finish the problem. Make sense? Okay. Again, if you've been paying attention, working hard through our problems up to now, you know that with a little work, you can easily finish these in steps 2 and 3, just like we did before. It's just a little more work. But again, we've done enough examples where I think you guys are going to be good. There it is, done. Okay, number 9. Same stuff, rectangle, huh? So here's another one, rectangle. The length of a rectangular jewelry box is 5 inches more than twice the width. Well, length is 5 more than twice the width. Isn't that true? The length is 5 more than twice the width. There's your first equation. Length is 5 more than twice the width. And here, perimeter is 34 inches. 34 is 2 times the length and 2 times the width. Just like before. Follow? Questions about that at all? Number 10. Again, I'm just going to set this up for you. You guys can do this. A photograph measures 9 inches by 12 inches. Doesn't matter which way you look at it. It looks like we've got another rectangle, right? Let's just do it this way, because in my mind I just picture a portrait for some reason. It could be a landscape, I don't know, but it doesn't really make a difference. Now, normally they say length by width. It doesn't really matter. Again, it doesn't matter which way you look at it, okay? So there's our picture, right? Earl put it in a frame that added 2 inches to every side. So, in other words, this picture went into a frame that added 2 inches to every side. Find the outside perimeter and the total area. Well, maybe I might actually have to do this with you. Let's look at this. It added 2 inches to every side. Look for me for a moment. let's just pretend, let's just focus on this side, this bottom side. You guys with me? The frame added 2 inches to every side. That's a very important detail. 2 inches to every side. That means this 9 became what? 11, right? Did it grow just on this side? No. So in other words, was it safe to say that we could probably give it an inch here and an inch over here? Yes. So this became 11 inches, didn't it? Follow me? It gained an inch over here and an inch over here. I don't know if that matters, but I'm just saying. Follow me? Now, let's look at this one over here. So 12, it gained 2 inches to every side. So that means that 12 became a, maybe I should put it over here. Oh, I'll put it here. And I'll erase this stuff so it's not so much in the way. So in other words, we gained an inch here and added an inch there for a total of 14 on that side. So in other words, the outside frame should be 11 by 14. Everybody agree with me? And it'd be 11 up here and a 14 over here. I'll just put that there just so we know. With me? Find the outside perimeter. What would we need to do for the perimeter? Add all these up. Agreed? Then, what else? Find the area. What would we do with 11 and 14 for area? Multiply them. So when you need to do the area, which you may not have talked about, area is length times width. So you would multiply those two numbers to get your area. Got it? That's all I got. That'll do it. Good job, everybody.